The sky over Varelia burned with an eerie red light, the twin suns of the planet casting long, jagged shadows over the colony. Captain Alina Carter stood on the ridge, her eyes scanning the horizon. Smoke curled from the outskirts of the settlement where the Kralins had attacked last night. The human colonists had fought bravely, but every battle left their numbers smaller, their defenses weaker. Messages had been sent into the void of space, begging for help. Every day they waited, the stars remained silent. Elena's boots crunched over the dry, cracked soil as she descended toward the village center. She could hear the soft murmur of worried voices, the clatter of tools as engineers tried to repair damage. The colony was small, barely enough to support 100 settlers. Yet, they had come to Varelia with hope, believing Earth's technology and guidance would protect them. Now, with the Kralins growing bolder, that hope seemed like a distant memory. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mason, a tall man with a scar across his cheek, hurrying to her side. The perimeter sensors picked up movement. "Some things." Off, Elena frowned. "The Kralins." Mason shook his head. "No, something else. Tracks, big ones. They're not like anything we've seen before." Lena squinted toward the outskirts, noting the deep impressions in the dirt. They were enormous, far larger than a Kralon. The ground was torn as if something with massive strength had moved through it. "Stay alert," she said, her voice firm. "We don't know what's coming. Get the guards ready." The colonists had little time to prepare before the first shadow moved across the ridge. It was faster than any human or Kralin, and disappeared as quickly as it came. Panic rippled through the settlement. Children were pulled inside, livestock corralled, and weapons readied. Elena's mind raced. The Kralins were ruthless, but they were predictable. This was different. Whoever or whatever was out there, it was deliberate. It had intelligence. And it had power. That night, the sky glowed brighter than usual. The twin suns set, leaving a pale green aurora that shimmered across the horizon. In the darkness, Alina convened a council with the colony leaders. "We can't wait for someone else to save us," Elena said, her hands resting on the table. "The stars are silent. Whatever is coming, we must face it ourselves or we will not survive." An engineer, a small man named Harris, shook his head. "Captain, our defenses won't hold. We barely repaired the walls from the last attack. And the Kralins. They're coming back stronger each day." Alina met his gaze steadily. "Then we adapt. We find the strengths we have, and we use them. Fear won't protect us. Ingenuity will." Outside, the ground trembled. A low, resonant growl echoed across the colony, sending chills through every listener. The council froze. This sound was not the screech of a Kralin. It was heavier, deeper, resonating through the soil itself. Elena's heart pounded. She motioned for the council to step back, and she grabbed a flashlight and a plasma rifle. "Stay inside," she instructed. "I need to see this for myself." The night air was cold, carrying the scent of scorched earth and dust. Alina crept toward the perimeter, following the tracks that Mason had reported. Each step made her senses sharper, ears straining for movement. Then she saw it. A towering figure, muscles glistening under a faint bioluminescent glow, standing at the edge of the village. Its eyes shone with an eerie intelligence, and it tilted its head as if assessing the humans below. Alina froze. The creature moved with precision, not recklessly. She raised her rifle, but her finger hesitated on the trigger. Something in its stance, its posture suggested it was not immediately hostile. Suddenly, a group of Kralins charged the village from the south. Their screams cut through the night. The creature at the perimeter reacted instantly, leaping with astonishing speed. In moments, it collided with the Kralins, its sheer strength, throwing them aside like ragdolls. Plasma bolts fired in every direction, but the creature seemed almost impervious. The humans watched in awe and terror. Children peeked from behind barricades, whispering, "Is it a monster?" Alina shouted to the guards, "Hold your fire! Let it fight." Hours passed like a blur. The Kralins fled, broken and defeated. When the dust settled, the towering creature stood alone, scanning the settlement once more. Then, without warning, it turned and disappeared into the darkness, leaving massive footprints behind. By morning, the colonists were shaken but alive. Alina gathered the survivors to inspect the aftermath. The Kraylan's bodies were scattered, some crushed beneath enormous footprints. Harris approached, awe on his face. "Captain, what was that thing?" Alina shook her head. "I don't know, but it was not here to harm us. Whatever it is not like the Kraylons. It might be a protector." Word of the mysterious guardian spread through the colony. Some were inspired, feeling a renewed sense of hope. Others remained fearful, uncertain of what might come next. Alina returned to her communications hub. The distress signals continued to go out into space, though no reply came. She typed a message to Earth anyway, detailing the attacks, the creature, and the desperate need for reinforcements. Even if no one responded, she refused to give up. Days passed. The Kraylans regrouped, attacking in waves, but each time the creature or creatures appeared, intervening with impossible speed and strength. Slowly, the colonists began to understand that they were not entirely alone. They had an ally, though its origins remained a mystery. Alina worked tirelessly with the engineers, strategizing ways to coordinate with the Guardians. Traps were set, barricades reinforced, and humans trained to fight alongside these powerful beings. Though terrifying, the experience taught them a lesson: ingenuity, courage, and cooperation could amplify their strengths in ways that even the Kraylans could not predict. One night, as Alina patrolled the outer perimeter, she caught sight of the Guardian once again. It approached her slowly, deliberately. This time, she noticed something remarkable. Its eyes seemed to recognize her. There was intelligence there, understanding, even trust. Alina lowered her rifle. "Who sent you?" she whispered. "Are you from Earth?" The creature did not answer in words, but its actions spoke louder. It gestured toward the horizon, then back to the colony, signaling that it would remain to protect them. Alina felt a surge of hope. For the first time since arriving on Varelia, she believed that survival was possible. Not because of distant stars, not because of waiting for help, but because humanity had created something extraordinary, something that could fight alongside them, a weapon of Earth's ingenuity. A protector in monstrous form, yet in the shadows of the ridge, Alina could not shake a nagging thought. If the Kraylans had learned of these creatures, the war was far from over. She knew the real challenge was just beginning. She returned to the settlement, rallying the colonists. "We are not helpless," she said. "The stars may be silent, but Earth has sent us strength. We fight, we survive, and we prove that humanity cannot be ignored." That night, as the twin suns rose again over Varelia, Alina stood on the ridge, watching the horizon. Somewhere out there, in the vastness of space, the silence remained unbroken. But here on the ground, humanity had sent its monsters, and they would not fail. The twin suns of Varelia barely pierced the horizon as the colony stirred awake. Smoke from the previous day's battle still hung in the air, and the settlers moved with a mixture of exhaustion and determination. Captain Alina Carter had spent the night reviewing the footprints left by the Guardian. They were enormous, far larger than any Kraylon or human could leave, but they suggested more than raw strength. The pattern of movement showed strategy, precision, and intelligence. "Captain," Lieutenant Mason said, breaking her thoughts, "we've detected multiple objects entering orbit." "They're not Kraylon ships." Lena's heart quickened. "Describe them." "They're massive," Mason said, voice tight with awe. "Armored. Humanoid in shape. They're descending toward the planet." Alina nodded. "Get everyone ready. We don't know what we're facing, but we need to be prepared." The settlers worked quickly, reinforcing barricades, readying weapons, and moving families to the safest shelters. Rumors had already begun to spread. Some whispered that these new arrivals were a second kind of guardian. Others feared they might be more dangerous than the Kraylans themselves. As the massive forms approached, the ground shook. Dust rose in clouds, obscuring the horizon. Then, through the haze, the first of the Earth warriors appeared. Standing over 15 feet tall, Each humanoid figure was encased in sleek, dark armor, reinforced with plating that shimmered faintly in the sunlight. Their eyes glowed with a soft blue light, scanning the terrain. The colonists gasped. Children clutched their parents, and even the seasoned settlers felt a shiver of fear. These were no ordinary machines. They moved with fluidity, their muscles and joints perfect in coordination. Each step left deep impressions in the ground, marking their arrival like a declaration of power. Alina stepped forward, raising her hand to signal calm. "They're here to help," she told the gathered settlers, though her voice carried uncertainty. She approached one of the approaching figures, her rifle lowered. The lead warrior stopped a few meters away. Its glowing eyes met hers. There was no aggression, only awareness. It raised a hand slowly, pointing toward the colony, then toward the Kralen's last position. The message was clear. The fight was not over. The Kralens had regrouped in the nearby canyon. They were larger in number now, their claws and weapons glinting as they prepared to attack again. Alina turned to Mason. "They want us to fight with them. Everyone, follow my lead." The settlers hesitated at first, fear gripping them, but Alina's confidence was contagious. They took positions alongside the towering warriors, learning to coordinate movements. The earth monsters did not speak, but their gestures were clear signals, warnings, and tactical directions. It was a strange, silent dance of humans and machines, bound by necessity. The first clash was brutal. The Kralens charged, expecting easy prey, but they were met with something they could not comprehend. One of the armored figures moved with lightning speed, catching a Kralon mid-leap and hurling it into the canyon wall. Another crushed a group of attackers with a single swing of its reinforced arm. The settlers fired from behind barricades. Taking advantage of the chaos created by the warriors, Alina directed teams to focus on tactical strikes. Use the terrain. Funnel them into narrow paths. The monsters can handle the front lines. The plan worked. The Kralens, who had once terrorized the colony, now faced opponents stronger and faster than anything they had encountered. Their organized attacks devolved into desperation. The humans, inspired by the monsters' power and coordination, fought with a courage they had never known before. Hours passed like minutes. The canyon echoed with roars, shouts, and the metallic clang of armor striking flesh. The settlers grew confident, their fear replaced by determination. They began predicting the monsters' movements, learning how to complement their strength with human ingenuity. Small teams set traps, creating pitfalls and barriers that the Kralens stumbled into. Every maneuver was executed under Elena's guidance, perfect blend of human strategy and brute force. During a brief lull, Alina approached the lead warrior again. Its glowing eyes studied her, then lowered toward the ground. In the dust, she noticed something unexpected: symbols etched into the earth. The patterns resembled schematics, maps, even warning signs. Somehow the monsters were not only fighting, they were teaching, communicating in a way humans could understand. Mason approached, his face pale. "Captain, they're incredible. They're not just fighting, they're guiding us. Every move we make seems to follow their lead, and yet they adjust to our mistakes." Lena nodded. "They were designed for this. Earth's scientists must have anticipated situations far worse than the Kralens, but we still have to work with them. That's the key: human strategy combined with their strength." As the sun dipped behind the twin horizons, the final assault began. The Kralens, sensing defeat, gathered in a massive horde, hoping sheer numbers could overwhelm the defenders. The Earth warriors moved like coordinated titans, cutting through the wave with precision. Humans followed, using traps and explosives in perfect timing. Alina led a team to flank the attackers, surprising them from the rear. The ground shook with each impact. Rocks flew, energy bolts scorched the earth, and the Kralens' screams filled the air. The colonists' hearts raced, but fear had been replaced by purpose. Every shot, every maneuver, was part of a greater plan. One Kralon, larger than the rest, broke through the front line, charging toward the village center. Elena's team moved to intercept, but before they could act, one of the earth monsters leaped in front of it. The Kralen's claws struck armor, but the warrior held firm. With a swift motion, it slammed the creature into the ground, incapacitating it. The colonists watched in awe, realizing that even the fiercest threats could not withstand these protectors. When the dust finally settled, the battlefield was silent. The Kralins had been defeated, their numbers decimated. The Earth Warriors stood tall, scanning the area before turning toward the humans. No words were spoken, yet a silent understanding passed between them and the colonists. They were not enemies, only allies sent to protect. Alina walked among the settlers, pride and relief mingling in her chest. "We did it," she said, though it felt strange. They had not fought alone. They had survived because of Earth's monsters, but also because humanity had adapted, learned, and trusted in something beyond themselves. The warriors began to move toward the horizon, leaving behind massive footprints as a reminder of their presence. One stopped, turning its glowing eyes toward Alina. It raised a hand once more, this time pointing to the sky. Then it turned and walked away, disappearing into the distance. Alina stared after it, understanding the message. Earth's warriors were not permanent guardians. They were protectors in times of crisis, sent to remind humanity of the power they could wield when combined with courage and strategy. The colonists worked together to rebuild. Using lessons learned from the battle, barricades were strengthened, drills practiced, and communication improved. Children played under the watchful eyes of their parents, learning the importance of teamwork, ingenuity, and courage. At night, Lena stood again on the ridge, gazing at the stars. The silence of space was still heavy, unbroken by the messages they had sent. Yet she felt no fear. Humanity had sent monsters, yes, but those monsters were more than weapons. They were a symbol of human resilience, intelligence, the ability to survive in the harshest conditions. Mason joined her quietly. "Do you think they'll come back?" Alina shook her head slowly. "I don't know. But I do know this: if they don't, we will survive anyway. Humanity has learned something vital today. The stars may be silent, but we are not powerless. Earth's monsters showed us the edge of human strength, and it's sharper than any alien can imagine." As the night settled over Varelia, the colony rested for the first time in weeks. The Kralins were gone, but their threat remained a distant shadow. The settlers slept under the faint glow of bioluminescent plants, dreaming of a future where courage, intelligence, and human innovation would always be enough to face the darkness. Alina remained on the ridge a while longer, thinking about the battles to come. She knew the real challenge was not only surviving attacks, but preparing for the next wave, the next threat. The Kralins would regroup, or something worse might arrive from the void. Yet she felt a spark of hope that no darkness could extinguish. Humanity had monsters now, yes, but more importantly, humanity had itself. And with courage, ingenuity, and determination, there was nothing they could not face. Weeks passed after the last great battle. The colony of Varelia slowly returned to life. Barricades were fixed, farms were planted again, and children laughed for the first time in months. But Captain Alina Carter did not relax. Deep down, she felt a storm was coming. The Kralins may have suffered defeat, but they were not gone. Scouts reported strange sounds in the deep canyons, metal being dragged, stone being cut, and distant roars that spoke of anger and preparation. "They're gathering again," Lieutenant Mason said, while scanning a glowing tablet. "But this time, they're not alone." Alina turned sharply. "What do you mean?" Mason zoomed in on the image. Shapes. Dozens of Kralins. But among them were larger, darker figures wrapped in heavy armors, something the Kralins had not used before. "They learned," Mason whispered. "They adapted after fighting our monsters." Elena's jaw tightened. "Then we will adapt faster." She called for a colony meeting. Men, women, elders, and teenagers gathered around her in the open square. Lanterns flickered in the dusk as Alina stepped onto a stack of metal crates to be seen clearly. "We fought hard," she began. "We survived. But our enemies are not finished. The Kralins are coming back, stronger, smarter, and angry. This time, they won't attack like wild beasts. They will plan. They will try to end us once and for all." Settlers murmured anxiously. But Alina lifted her hand. But we are not the same people we were. We are no longer just settlers. We have fought beside Earth's greatest defenders. We learned their tactics. We learned courage. We are ready, hope flickered in their eyes. We will not hide and wait. This time we strike first. Silence. Then cheers. Not of fear, but of fierce unity. The plan was simple, but daring. Instead of waiting for the Kralins to attack, the humans would move toward the canyon where enemy forces gathered. They would set traps, create diversions, and guide the Earth warriors into controlled battle zones where their strength could be used most effectively. At dawn, the colonists marched. Some rode armored transports, others walked with rifles and tools strapped to their backs. Children too young to fight stayed behind in safe shelters guarded by automated defense drones. Alina walked at the front with Mason beside her. The morning air was cool, but her heart was burning as they reached the canyon. A familiar rumble shook the ground. The Earth warriors had returned. Without a word, the massive armored figures marched silently beside the humans. The sight sent a rush of confidence through the settlers. The Kralins were powerful, but they had no allies like these. Alina looked up at the lead warrior. Its glowing blue eyes focused on her. Though it spoke no words, she understood its meaning clearly. Lead us. We follow. She gave the order. Move. The first phase began with noise-great explosions echoing through the canyon, drawing out the Kralins. They emerged in large packs, armored and furious, their roars shaking the rocks. Then came the second phase. The Earth. Warriors charged. The ground cracked beneath their feet as they ran with impossible speed. Their metal fists smashed through Kralin shields. Their bodies were like living tanks. Every strike sent shockwaves through enemy lines. But the Kralins had learned. They used heavy plasma cannons, firing concentrated blasts. One of the Earth warriors took a direct hit and staggered. Its armor glowing red dot. Alina shouted into her communicator. Team Alpha smoke cover. A group of settlers launched thick smoke grenades covering the field. The wounded warrior was pulled back by two others, paired instantly by auto-healing nanites embedded in their armor. Watching this, Mason whispered, "They don't break. They don't even hesitate." Alina smiled faintly. "And neither do we." Battle intensified. Humans used narrow cliffs to fire from above. Small teams placed explosives under bridges and rock ledges. When Kralins tried to cross, the ground collapsed beneath them. But the real turning point came when the Kralins revealed their final weapon from the shadows of the canyon. A giant emerged, far taller than any Earth warrior. Its body was covered in spiked black plating, and its arms crackled with blue energy. Even the Earth warriors paused. The Kralin Titan roared. Shaking the sky, the settlers froze. Mason whispered, "Captain, how do we beat that?" Alina did not blink. By doing what humans always do. We think. She looked at the canyon walls. Narrow, tall, unstable. She grabbed her communicator. Engineering team. Ready the detonators. Warriors lure it left. Into the narrow pass. The humans and Earth warriors coordinated instantly. The titanic Kralin swung its arm, shattering boulders. But the armored warriors darted around it, striking its legs and back. They were small compared to it, but incredibly fast. The giant followed them into a tight passage between two towering cliffs. Ready? Alina muttered into the communicator as dust and rocks rained down. The Titan roared again. Now. Boom. The canyon walls exploded. Enormous rocks came crashing down, burying the beast in a thunderous avalanche. The ground shook for several seconds. Then silence. A cheer erupted across the battlefield. Mason yelled, "Captain Carter, you did it." She shook her head. "No, we did it." As the dust settled, the remaining Kralins broke into scattered groups. Some fled. Others tried to fight, but without their leader. They were hopeless. The Earth warriors moved swiftly, ensuring none could regroup soon. The battle was completely over. The humans stood among the ruins, panting, wounded. Tired but victorious, Alina walked toward the center of the battlefield. The lead Earth warrior approached her. For a long moment they stood in silence. Then slowly, the massive figure knelt. Gasps spread through the settlers, one by one. The other warriors followed, bowing their heads before her. Mason stared in disbelief. "There, honoring you." Lena's voice was calm, but her eyes glistened. "No, they are honoring humanity." Back at the colony, celebrations lasted through the night. Children danced. Elders cried in relief. Soldiers laughed and shared stories. But Alina sat quietly on the ridge, watching the stars. Mason joined her. "Still working, Captain?" She smiled softly. "Just thinking about what?" "About the silence," she replied, looking at the sky. "The universe ignored our call. No alien kingdom came to help. No council responded." Mason nodded. "Only Earth." Alina shook her head. "Not just Earth. Humans. We helped each other. We built. We fought. We adapted." She paused, her eyes firm. "And if the stars will not answer us, then we will not beg anymore. We will rise. We will protect. We will be heard." The wind blew softly, carrying the distant echo of laughter from the village. Mason smiled. "So what now?" Alina stood, looking powerful despite the scars on her armor. "Now," she said, "we send a new message to the stars." Mason raised a brow. "A message of peace?" Alina's smile turned sharp. "A message of warning." She lifted her communicator and recorded a transmission. "To any species listening, this is Captain Alina Carter of Virelia Colony. We once pleaded for help, and the stars were silent. Now hear this. We are not victims. We are not prey. Earth sent monsters to protect us, and we have become monsters too. If you threaten humanity, be prepared. Because this time we will answer." She pressed send. The stars remained silent. But somehow, they seemed to be listening.